All right, thank you, everyone. My name is Tammy. I'm the Ward 4 City Councilor. Thank you so much for being here. And one of the big things too is that we will be live streaming this, and it is being saved to YouTube. So ideally, we're going to continue to keep this conversation going for more of Ward 4 to learn more about our trustees and the trustee candidates. So again, thank you so much for being here. Today is a meet and greet of 7 out of the 8 candidates. Unfortunately, Paul has COVID, and we said, no, Paul, you stay at home because COVID is not welcome here. So I'm thankful that we have 7 out of our 8 candidates here. Wait, I think we have 7. Do we have 7? Yes, we do have 7. Thank you, Pascal. And actually, Pascal, can you send a text message to Jack and make sure that we're actually live streaming this properly? And we are. Oh, thank you. Wonderful. Yeah. Jack is normally our tech support, and she's not feeling well today. So we also said go home because we don't want any kind of sickness. No. Okay, so today, where's my clicker? Did I give you my clicker?
It's on the podium.
So we have a quick presentation, and I'm super thankful that Tammy is here. Tammy Reeves is here from our elections office. So she's going to go really quickly through what the voting process is. Going to speak a little bit about the online sort of areas. And as well, we do have our Chief Digital Officer, Cyrus, is here. And Sha is also here. Yes, Anian is here. So we're super excited to have, oh, come on in. Pascal, can you wedge the door thingy in? So now, because people can't get in. So wedge it open just so that people can actually, sorry, we're dealing with doors here. So just for people to know. Yeah, just wedge it so that there's like a little, so people, great, thank you, perfect, awesome. Yes, so we do have, our IT team is also here to answer any questions, and also if there's any sort of technical questions or issues on the online voting. We are trying this. This is something, because this is a Ward 4, very small geographic area. It is also very localized. It is also a small test case. So the idea here is that we are learning. We have actually brought on a third-party online voting company to help us with this because we are learning and we want to get this right before the 2026 election. So this is a real opportunity, and so I'm super excited about that. Again, we'll have a lot of questions. If you have a lot of questions for staff, they are here to answer that. We will also, in terms of the course of tonight's evening, after Tammy's presentation, we will be doing candidates, and each candidate will get a 2-minute introduction followed by questions. So I have all of your names in a proverbial hat, but really it's a black bag that I can pull things out of. And that is, we're gonna ask you some really tough questions because there's going to be some things, especially when it comes to schools and how we have seen some of the really big challenges recently. So there will be some tough questions ahead of time. I'm just giving our candidates a little bit of a starting point, right? And then from there, each candidate will have a randomized question. You can have up to a minute, maybe 2 minutes. Pascal tells me these timings, but anyway, very quickly, you'll answer it, and then we'll give an opportunity for additional responses from other candidates to that particular question. Mostly it's like the 2 sentences long response because we're on a time clock. And then the last bit will be question and answer, 1 minute for rebuttal, and then we'll have audience questions, and to which we'll tell you a little bit more about how we want to do audience questions. We do have placards and markers to write your question, and then so we can have these asked out to all of our candidates. So hopefully that seems to make a lot of sense. But I am super excited to invite Tammy Reeves to come on up. Tammy, let's give her a round of applause. No, Landon, no. Sorry. Jeez, Pascal, this text is like the smallest possible text. I will read it this way. The city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And today, many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and that we must recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history so that we can better understand our roles as residents and caretakers. And I am especially thankful because this land, and especially Ward 4, we are home to a lot of urban Indigenous. So I am especially thankful for this time that we have here today. My next click, that's me, that's Pascal. Jag is online, so she's waving, I think, from her online area. Okay, and now I can invite Tammy Reeves to come on up. So please come on up. Let's give her a warm welcome, please. Or how do you want to use her? Pascal gets mad when we go past the green.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me.
Oh, can you switch her presentation? No, sorry. We have it. There we go.
Okay. So as Councillor Hoying said, my name is Tammy Reeves. I'm the manager of elections and print and mail for the City of Hamilton. Just here to quickly go over some of the key points dealing with the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board Ward 4 trustee by-election. As you all know, this election is to fill the seat that was made vacant by the resignation of longtime trustee Ray Mulholland.
Down? You gotta hit the down one.
I'll hit it. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, just that, yeah.
Okay. So quickly, just to discuss, what does a trustee do? Trustees are officials elected to serve parents, students, taxpayers, and the school system. They are the link between communities and the school board, ensuring Hamilton Public Schools meet the diverse needs of students in their communities.
Let me help you.
Let me get this in. Okay. So just to quickly go over the 2022 to 2026 Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board of Trustees that exists. As you can see, there are 11 elected positions that were filled in the 2022 municipal election. It is the Ward 4 vacancy, as you know, that we will be filling in this by-election.
Oh, you're hitting the pointer. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Okay, so the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board Ward 4 trustee is responsible for representing the English public schools within the Ward 4 boundaries. Within Ward 4, the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board schools that exist are Hillcrest, Parkdale, Queen Mary, Rosedale, Sir Winston Churchill, Viscount Montgomery, and W.H. Ballard. So these are just a couple of key dates. As you can see, in a short amount of time, a lot happens. So back in the beginning of September is when Trustee Mulholland resigned. At the end of September, the school board opted to fill the vacant seat by way of a by-election. Nominations opened right away after the city received notification of that option. In October 9th, as your councillor has discussed, City Council voted to investigate online voting as an option for this Ward 4 by-election. We had nominations closed at the end of November with 8 registered candidates. Online voter registration has opened last week. The online voting period takes place between January 2nd to 6th of 2025. And we have advanced polls on January 4th and 5th, with election day being on January 6th. Okay, so just to quickly go over who is eligible to vote in this by-election. In order to qualify as an elector for this Ward 4 trustee by-election, you must meet the following legislated criteria. You must be a Canadian citizen, you must be aged 18 or older, and you must qualify to vote in Ward 4 as a resident or non-resident elector, and must support the English language public school board. Okay, so the first step to voting is ensuring that you are on the voters list. That can be done by verifying that you are on the Elections Ontario voting register. The website is listed here. We also have handouts available that list this information as well. Assuming you are on the voters list and your information is accurate, you are essentially set to go to a poll or register online with acceptable identification. If you are listed on the voters list but require updating or are not on the voters list at all, you can complete what is called an EL15 form at either the city clerk's office or at advanced or election day polls. For the 2025 by-election, we have several different voting methods. In person, we're offering paper ballot with voting tabulators, which is your traditional method. We have advanced polls as stated. We offer proxy voting, curbside voting. Accessible voting equipment will be available at all polls on all polling dates. We also have an institutional poll within Ward 4 where we will be taking votes. And new for 2025, we have online voting. Okay, so for the by-election, there are two different methods that you can choose to vote. Eligible electors may opt to cast their ballots at a polling location using the traditional paper ballots or assistive voting technology. Electors may vote at any of the 3 polling locations in Ward 4 during advanced poll dates or on election day. Advanced polls again will run on Saturday, September 4th and Saturday, January 4th and Sunday, January 5th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And election day polls will be open from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. on Monday, January the 6th. Polls that were selected to provide familiar and accessible facilities to electors for ease of access and to ensure that they were spread evenly across the ward. Electors may choose to vote at any of the following polling locations in the ward: Rosedale Arena and Senior Center, which is at 100 Green Hill Avenue. We have Sir Winston Churchill Recreation Center at 1709 Main Street East. And we have Boys and Girls Club of Hamilton Halton at 45 Ellis Avenue. So, okay, so voter cards are not required to vote in person. However, a piece of acceptable identification, which proves name and address, is required to be added to the voters list and to receive a ballot. Electors already on the voters list will be directed to a deputy returning officer at the poll, who upon receipt of identification will strike the elector from the voters list and issue them a ballot. Electors not already on the voters list or lacking acceptable identification will be directed to a revision officer who will assist the elector in completing the paperwork necessary for qualification. And new for this by-election, eligible electors in Ward 4 may also opt to cast their ballots online. This can be done in 2 steps. You can register to vote online between December 1st and January the 5th, after which time you can cast your secure ballot online between January 2nd and the 6th. So what identification is needed to vote? As mentioned a few times, acceptable identification is an original or certified or notarized copy of a document or combination of documents which show a person's name and qualifying address. There is an exhaustive list of acceptable identification, which I would recommend you take a look at at the city's election webpage, and it's dictated by OREG 30413. So that essentially wraps up quickly what we are looking at for the by-election, methods of voting, and some high-level information for you. I do recommend checking out the City of Hamilton website at hamilton.ca/elections. There's all kinds of resources on there. We have information about voting, policies, procedures, your list of candidates, and the election team, again, is always available to assist with questions at the phone number listed or the email. And again, there will be handouts available. I can leave them on the back table on your way out that will have essentially all this information and more. And yeah, thank you and best of luck to everyone.
Thank you, Tammy. Yes. So stay where you are. We do have questions. So may you raise your hand? Yes. What was your question?
I just wondered with the voter cards, I know you said you don't have to have them, but in light of this postal strike, are they going to be sent out or what's the?
So the question was around postal cards and like the voter cards.
Right.
And the postal strike.
Right. So the original intent was that, yes, we would mail out voter information cards to all English public voters within Ward 4. Obviously, because of the Canada Post strike, that option is no longer available. What we've had to do, we've pivoted. We've been dealing with the school board. What they've done is they've increased their messaging on all of the individual school websites. They've sent emails home to all student families within Ward 4. We have also internally increased our media coverage as well as sort of advertising that we wouldn't have done otherwise had we been able to send out the voter cards. So we've sort of had to take another stand, another way of getting the information out there, unfortunately. But that being said, you don't require the card to vote. You attend a poll with your identification and you can be added to the list as long as you're a qualifying elector and you can cast your ballot.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Any questions, Allison?
What is curbside voting?
Curbside voting, what is that?
Good question. So curbside voting is available for anyone who is not physically able to attend a poll, to come into a poll, for example, but wants to physically fill out a ballot and ensure that that physical ballot is posted. What we would have is essentially someone would have to be with that person, come in, notify the MDRO, which is the manager of the poll, that there is an elector out in the parking lot that would like to be issued a ballot. So essentially the process is the same. We would have the MDRO and a DRO attend to the elector at their vehicle, just again, to make sure that it's convenient. And there's 2 staff. The ballot is cast in the privacy of their vehicle, basically, and returned to the poll where it's tabulated.
All right, so if you're homeward bound, the only alternative you really have is online voting then?
Or you could appoint a proxy. So as an eligible elector, you can appoint another eligible elector to act on your behalf and to vote on your behalf on election day or advance voting.
So just to reiterate the question was whether you have to be around, but that's why we answered the question that you can also have a proxy.
Correct.
So before they ask the question, because we're live streaming too, so. Okay. Any other questions? Nobody wants to talk to the IT guys about online voting? Oh, but the IT guys got all dressed up. Olga.
So my question in terms of the online voting is what verification of identification is there for that?
What verification of identification do you need for online voting? Tammy, can you answer that?
Yep. So it's essentially the same as would be at a poll. Any of the acceptable pieces of identification, I believe there's 29 pieces that are listed. So long as they prove the elector's name and qualifying address, it's considered an acceptable piece of identification, the same as it would be in person.
Any
The question
other?
is
How do you online vote?
how do you show that for identification?
How would you show that?
It's upload photo.
Pascal, what question do you have?
Who do you call if you're having IT problems while trying to register for online voting or on voting day?
Who are you gonna call when you got a problem with online voting on voting day?
Well, I mean, you can call us directly and we would get you in touch with the provider if that was where the issue was. We do have IT and so the provider also has resources available on election day, in person and online. So basically contact us and we'll make sure it gets sent to the right people.
I also asked that question and our comms team said that they are building the most comprehensive FAQ possible.
Yes,
Like
I just
every
received it today.
possible. Okay.
Yes, it
So,
is.
Is
Yes.
it comprehensive?
It's very comprehensive. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And I
Okay.
will send it your way tomorrow.
Yes. Okay, Pascal, you have a follow-on question.
Yes.
When you go to cast your vote, let's say that I'm waiting to the very last minute on voting day. What is the very last minute and how much time I should be giving myself to go through the process to vote?
If you're online voting and you're super late and procrastinating, what is the very last possible moment to actually vote?
And how much time do you
And how much time do you need?
So the process itself, assuming you've already gone through the registration process ahead of time as required and done the onboarding, the process itself is really minutes. It's maybe Matthew, you want to speak a little bit more to the specifics? We have Matthew Human here. He is actually representing, I'll let him introduce himself, but he's from New Vote Voting Technology.
Stay with me.
Stay inside of the green, otherwise Pascal gets mad.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm the CEO of NewVote. We're the online voting provider that's providing the service for the election. Oh, sorry about that. The process for uploading an ID, the registration process is really quite easy. It does a check. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
It does a check to see if you're on the preliminary elector list right away, and if your information is accurate and you provide an ID, that also confirms your eligibility. It's proved quite quickly. And then you can pretty much just go in, you'll receive an email confirmation that allows you to go in immediately and cast your ballot online. You have quite literally up until like a minute before, as long as you've received that credential and you can go in and access it. Go in, you can access it, and it will literally log you right in. You'll have access to the ballot. Even if you're at the minute right before the election closes at 8 p.m., you will still be provided about a 30-minute window to continually cast your ballot, as long as you're within the active voting session at that time.
But they still only get one vote.
They only get one vote. There
That's
is
what I
no way to cast more than one vote in the system.
So I'm so glad that Matthew from New Vote is here. So if we have any problems, we know this guy's face. We should actually like really look. This is Matthew from New Vote. He's going to help us with this. So everybody remember his face, and everybody roll. Don't be nice to Matthew. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
I'm just wondering, in terms of ensuring that the community, that the board is aware, the only reason why I know is because I've got kids in the school system. Is there any effort, makes it sound like I'm being, like, but if you don't have kids in the school system, like billboards or signage or.
There's
So hold on a second. We're gonna ask the question through the speakers, and then I'll get you to answer the question through the speakers. Okay, so the question is, just because you have kids in the school board, you're seeing that, but what about all the other people that are eligible voters but don't have kids in their school board? How are we doing this properly? So Tammy, come on over this way.
So we've increased our social media posts. So we have posts on LinkedIn, Instagram, X. I can't remember all of them, but we have our communications team has increased the frequency of posts, has basically increased ads in the Spectator, for example, things like that, that we had started doing for nominations, but essentially had planned to just rely on the voter cards. But the strike, we've had to sort of shift tactics, and so there will be increased presence on social media and on as much in the media as possible as well. So.
You want to go to that point now? Allison.
I still have a question for Matthew, who's.
Matthew, you gotta come back up here.
All right, so Matthew, I received this email, and so you're the best person for me to ask this question to. This person says, online voting is inherently insecure and high risk of tampering, according to independent sources. Online voting in municipal elections is basically the Wild West.
Okay, Allison has an email that she's reading out, which is a question that I think is really relevant. The question is, how secure is online voting, especially because it's kind of like the Wild West here. So Matthew, what are you doing about this?
So the quoting that you just referenced is, I actually know the gentleman personally who referenced it. His name is Dr. Alexander Essex. He's a professor at Western University. Historically, and a lot of people don't know about this, but online voting has been used in Ontario for municipal elections since 2003. It started in Markham, and it's now grown to the predominant form of voting outside the city of Toronto. Where that historical sort of narrative about insecurity really comes in, and to be honest, it was very valid, is the technology has really matured over the last 20 years in a number of different ways. And the work that's being done kind of behind the scenes is actually that gentleman in particular, who is the staunchest critic of online voting. He's a globally recognized critic of online voting. Him and another professor who's at Brock University, called Dr. Nicole Goodman, have actually been working on standards for that exact reason. And it's basically to secure the industry and provide more of a technical and operational expertise. And the city of Hamilton has been part of that, which is how we originally got linked together. The city of Hamilton and my company did a research project for Dr. Nicole Goodman actually this fall, and that's what led to the discussion around running this Ward 4 by-election. The real core difference between the reason for that quote, which is actually quite old, is a process called end-to-end verifiability. And so what our system does, and each one of you who votes on the system will receive this, each vote is digitally signed with a cryptographic receipt, which can be checked after to confirm that it was cast. Now, behind it is basically a cryptographic ledger. There's a lot of math going on, but it's fully auditable, and that's the other component of it, is the entire system can be handed over, and will be handed over to the city of Hamilton and the IT staff for them to review, and if they wanted to, they could go and hire a third-party auditor to come in and quite literally do a clean review of the entire thing and confirm that each vote was cast accurately. Only one voter how the process works is the voter gets signed in, and it's digitally signed from the beginning to the very end, and it's, again, fully transparent, fully auditable. I agree actually with that gentleman very, very much, which is why I supported the work of the standards from the very, very beginning, like before that, I think around 2019 when that quote was made in the press. Ironically enough, we're not supposed to use Wild Wild West anymore because it has a sort of negative connotation, but it was a very valid kind of perspective at that time. We do a lot of other stuff behind the scenes, and I'm happy to answer any questions around this. Sorry, I forget about this. Public speaking is not my forte. I'm an engineer. But essentially, when we looked at this, we decided that this was going to be something. It's not an easy thing to do. It really isn't. And the concerns around online voting are more than valid. They're very, very valid. And I received that same email, to be honest with you, and a lot of the stuff that they quoted in was from criticism around other, I don't want to say other vendors because that's not appropriate, but other technology implementations that have kind of matured out of that perspective over the years. What we're looking at now is quite literally a system that is being used by major countries. Like this by-election is small in comparison. We've done federal elections for the country of Mexico, and our system, just so that everyone's aware, is the same exact system that's been used in the country of Estonia. The Estonia, which is the vanguard of online voting and digital government services, it's the same system. The gentleman who built the system back in Estonia in 2003 or 2004 is the same person who is reviewing the implementation that's being used on January 2nd to 6th. So there's a lot of work to be done. The criticism is valid, but that's why I'm here, is to kind of get in front of it and answer these questions and basically just, alleviate everyone's kind of high-level concerns. Sorry.
What you didn't hear is that he is here to make sure to alleviate any concerns that we have about online voting, but we also have all the other forms of voting. So this is an opportunity for us to try and test, and then put Matthew through his paces through the Ward 4 by-election.
I wanted to say one other thing about the mail outs as well. So when you saw the dates when the election was actually called, we rushed to get the mail outs done. Like we were lit up. We were on the phone every couple of days being like, okay, it's approved. We're ready to go. And then quite literally Canada Post hit us with the strike. So we're trying our best. We have printouts to actually hand out, and Tam's done an absolutely fantastic job of communicating with the school board to get the message out. But we are really in a bind here when it comes to our limit really is Canada Post. And I will say that if you think about other forms of voting outside of this, like vote by mail specifically, if vote by mail was the only other advanced voting option or remote voting option, there would be no ballots going. So the online voting does have its use case and some clear benefit that's hard to argue against. This is definitely one of them because realistically, what would we do? We have no other than hiring. You can't even use Purelator or UPS anymore. FedExing the voter information cards to every 20,000 individual households would be the only other option. So we're trying our best, but we are working diligently with the Alexis Hamilton office to try to figure out the best way to get the message out there.
All right, thank you. Larry, last question, because then I got to get the candidates up here. So Larry, last question goes to you.
Yeah, so just one quick question. If, say, tomorrow the strike ended, which doesn't sound like they're even close, but would you still be able to mail out your cards within a certain window of the election days?
Question is, if the strike was over tomorrow, would we still be able to mail out the voter cards? So I'm going to ask Tammy to answer that.
I was actually
okay.
the one. So
Matthew will answer that.
That was a discussion point too, when we were kind of looking at that of like, if the first week of the strike, we're like, if it ends on Friday, what do we do? By week, we're 3 now, I think. The reality is, I think the backlog for postal services or the mail to go out is like 15 million packages deep. So we could theoretically get it out, and we had the printer ready to go and they package it up and mail it up to the individual households. The problem is, we would actually have no guarantee that the households would receive the voter information cards. And if we're reliant on this sort of unknown factor, what would happen is if all of a sudden, January 15th, everyone receives this voter information card in the mail, and I used vote by mail ballots for the 2021 federal election when they offered it because I wanted to see what the process was like. My ballot came in too late for me to mail back to Elections Canada, so I had to go and physically drop my ballot off. I don't think it would be a good idea. We are keeping it, or trust me, we are keeping on top of this like every day. I don't think it would be a good idea to rely on Canada Post at this point. We're realistically, we have to get people registered. You guys are running your campaigns. You want to get people engaged as quickly as possible. If that we're relying on that single sort of like factor of getting the message out, it's too risky. I think we're working with Tammy's office. We're going to try to figure out the best way to get people motivated. But again, as candidates, we're all in it together, right? We want to get people to the polls. We want to get people motivated and engaged in the election. So we're trying our best digitally. We're trying our best with a number of other streams, and we'll keep you guys posted if we come up with anything else.
Okay, thank you. Pascal is telling us that we got to move to the next section, or not, or she's just like she's gesturing, and I'm not really sure what she's gesturing about. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Tammy. Everybody, could I get another round of applause for them? So, for our candidates, what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of shift this speaker kind of in the middle. We'll have 4 on this side and then 4 on this side because we're going to split these microphones and make sure that they're on either side. So what we'll do is just give us a couple of minutes just to reset the stage for a second. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just back it up a bit. I'll back up the screen a bit.
Yeah, back that up.
Back that thing up.
You wanna shift that way just so we can catch that last spot there? Nope, the other way.
Yep, we're good.
Okay.
All right. Candidates, if you want to go grab a seat.
Come on down, candidates. Today is your lucky day. Okay. I have Abby Zaiti. I have Jordan Williams. Just want to make sure that you guys know that I'm not cheating. Miriam? Larry? Amanda? Thanks, Amanda. Paul is not here, so we'll put him down. Amy? Amy, wonderful. And Allison. Okay. So, thank you, everyone. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 2-minute introductions to have all of the candidates introduce themselves. So, Jordan, just because you're standing right in front of me, you're going to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it in front of Larry. So then that way it'll be good to go.
I'm going to give you a little, this means you have 30 seconds. We're going to be very strict with time so that everyone gets a chance to talk, okay? 30 seconds, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I like she's going to stand up and start yelling
Mike,
at you guys.
hold, okay? Just because we want to make sure everyone gets an equal amount of time to speak, okay? So let's respect the time. Thank you. So are you ready? Momentarily. I'm putting my timer. All right, go. I'm gonna start it again for you, okay? on va reprendre. Okay.
All right, well, sorry here. I'd like to thank the counselor, Tammy, for putting this event on. I spoke to her a few weeks ago. I thought it would be a great opportunity for parents and students that would be interested in coming out. A nice little meet and greet with our little trustee family here. And yeah, and also to get any information on the voting, which I was a little late. I got off the Barton bus, so I apologize, but I would run 1,000 miles to be here for the kids. So the students, I have 2 children of my own. So basically, again, thank you for being here tonight. My name is Jordan Williams, and I'm running to be the next Ward 4 school trustee. I have spent numerous years since high school working in the heavy industry that we have here in Ward 4 for some of the 500 Fortune companies. I currently work at Stelco Holdings, Inc., where I've learned the value of hard work. I've also learned resilience and teamwork. These values I would love to bring to Ward 4 into the school system. And also that way every child and student can succeed. And our community is in dire need of saving right now. And also what we're seeing out in the community is also now, unfortunately, is plagued our schools. There's drugs, there's violence, there's crime. So as a blue collar worker, I understand the challenges that our community is currently faced with. I see it every day. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for those who are watching on the live stream as well. I'm here today with a profound sense of purpose and conviction. My journey has been driven by an unwavering commitment to do what is right and a profound sense of integrity that guides my every action. I am compelled to step forward, driven by a vision for a better future for our children and for our community. My motivation stems from a deep desire to ensure the best outcomes for my child and for every child within our community. Schools must be safe havens where children are nurtured and allowed to grow beyond their comfort zones. Safe spaces are essential for fostering creativity, resilience, and the kind of personal growth that shapes future leaders. Reflecting on my own experiences, I was fortunate to be exposed to opportunities at school that fundamentally changed me. Whether it was through broadcasting or sport or student council, these experiences broadened my horizons, instilled a sense of purpose and discipline, and ignited my passion for community engagement. Such opportunities should be accessible to all children, allowing them to discover their potential and pursue their dreams. I believe in the power of education to transform lives. It is our responsibility to ensure that every student has access to quality education in an environment that supports their well-being and growth. By creating and maintaining safe and supportive schools, we can provide children with the foundation of what they need to succeed both academically and personally. In pursuing this role, I'm driven by a clear sense of what is right and just. I'm dedicated to upholding the highest standards of integrity in my actions. Together, we can work towards creating a community where every child can thrive, where schools are safe spaces for exploration and growth, and we all strive for excellence in education and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda, do you want to say your name? You didn't say your name.
My name is Amanda Neal Robinson.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello and good evening. I'm Larry Pattison. 4 generations of my family have lived in Ward 4 and have attended almost every school, past and present. I have worked in Ward 4 for over 2 decades. My kids enjoyed their early years programming at the Boys and Girls Club, and I've been volunteering in the ward for many years. There's no doubt that I want to see the community thrive and for us to have the best recreational and educational assets in Hamilton. I am proud of the work I did during my term as trustee, with accomplishments that include fighting for special needs programming, ensuring the Ward 4 schools that did not go through the accommodation review still receive their benchmark upgrades, working closely with our Indigenous community, assisting with facilitating a new home and school association at one of my schools, working collaboratively with school board staff and local city councillor to secure funding for playground improvements and fostering connections within the community. I know that the most important skill that I can bring to the table is my ability to build strong relationships across political and social divides, and a desire to find the moral courage and strength to engage in these difficult conversations without judgment or a desire to tear down those with views who differ from our own. The most important promise that I can make as your elected official is to work tirelessly, engage you through community meetings, monthly newsletters, and attending your school events to ensure that your voice is heard. I'm a longtime coach in the community. I've continued to follow the issues that are affecting our education system, and I have proven that I'm willing to stand up and fight for who and what I believe in. My experience in this role and through my volunteer work are proof that I'm ready to jump right in and advocate for the issues that are important on day one. I believe that with an open mind and a desire to see the community, the humanity in others, we can change how politics is done. Thank you for considering me.
Abby, do you want to pick up yours? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Make sure I have a lead.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Abby Zately. I live in Ward 4. My kids go to school here in Ward 4. I am co-chair of the school council at AM Cunningham, a volunteer and a dedicated community member who wants to see Ward 4 thrive. Quickly, who is here today and has kids in the system Yeah? Anyone here today who doesn't? Okay, so to those who have kids that go to the DSB, I know how many you guys had to organize to get childcare for tonight, or had to miss out on bedtime, so thank you. Making time to show up for these events is admirable. You want the best for your kids, and you're willing to show up and participate in that outcome. For those of you who don't have kids currently in the system, thank you as well. It says a lot about how you view community. You see that all systems are connected, that your tax dollars fund schools, and that today's students will be a part of tomorrow's workforce, community, and that's worth showing up for. So thank you. I believe we need a school system I need a podium, presents the values, voices, and aspirations of all Ward 4 residents, parents, students, and community members alike. One of my key priorities is rebuilding the connection between families and the school board. Too often, families feel disconnected from decisions that affect their children. I want to change that by ensuring transparency, fostering open communication, and creating real opportunities for families to be heard. I'm also committed to improving student well-being. We've heard time and time again about the mental health challenges students face and the impacts of bullying. Students should feel safe and supported in their working or learning environments. And finally, we need to rethink our learning spaces. Our classrooms should be places that inspire learning. We should be thinking about modernizing infrastructure, expanding technology, and ensuring each student sees their culture, history, and identity presented in their education. Our schools shape the future of Hamilton, not just for our kids, but for our entire community. Whether you have kids in this,
Thank you.
school system or not, thank you so much, and I look forward to answering all your questions tonight. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi there, my name is Amy Calling, and I am a wife to my wonderful husband who's here tonight, and also a mother to 6 wonderful children, 5 of which who attend currently school at HWDSB. And next year, our youngest will be starting, so we'll have 6. We'll actually have JK to grade 8 for 1 year. So I have been involved for the last, 9 years now. And I have another about 14 to go starting next year. So I am vested in this very, very endowedly. And I've worked for the last 20-ish years with people who experience intellectual disabilities. And a big part of that job is advocating for people who can't advocate for themselves. And so, that is a transferable skill that I can use to hear parents in Ward 4, hear what their concerns are for their children, and to advocate on your behalf. So I'd just like to thank you for hosting this tonight. Thank you to the other candidates, and I wish us all the best of luck. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Miriam Sulmakil. I am very thankful for all of you to come in tonight. Thanks, Tammy, for hosting this event. It gives us a great opportunity to meet all the other candidates and also meet all the parents. I come from an education background. I have been from anywhere from a high school student to a master trainer. I've done a lot in the education field. I worked in the legal industry for 11 years. So that brings me a lot with the customer service, with the client's expectations, people that are hurt and are in need. And that brings me closely to the parents and the families that are representing those students. So my goal is to have great representation of the parents, meet their expectation, find out what are the issues in each school, and kind of meet the mandates. Because at the end of the day, all the parents hold us as the stewards of their kids. So they want their kids to go somewhere that's safe, that are well represented, feel welcome. Because nowadays, the last thing everybody wants to be involved in is education. And unfortunately, people are moving away from education and focus more on games and everything else because they don't find it fun in school. They don't find it innovative in school. So I think that is what needs to be met. Every child's need has to be met. Every child's interests have to be met. I've also worked in the Montessori environment, which that is the ideology that they have, is that kids' needs have to be acknowledged. Where are their interests? That needs to be acknowledged. So I'm here to represent you, and hopefully you guys vote. And thank you so much again for coming in. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Just make sure you do not go any further that way.
Yeah. Perfect, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank Tammy and the Ward 4 team for putting this gathering together tonight. I would also like to thank all of you for attending. My name is Allison Bailey. I'm a single mother and a retired 64-year-old administrator. I'm standing before you because I know with my background and skills, I can make a difference in this trustee position. I'm a proud East End girl. This is my hood. I grew up at the corner of Ottawa Street and Montclair. I went to Memorial. I attended Delta. When I came back to Hamilton to raise my child, I came back to the same hood because I know I wanted them to be surrounded by good, honest, hardworking people. Volunteering is part of my DNA. I was a Girl Guide leader for many years. I was a member and then chair of the Delta Parent Council. I was also a member of the transitional team when Delta was closing and students were transitioning to Bernie Custis. On top of that, I was a member of the Parent Advisory Committee for the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board. It's hard to prepare for what's to come when Ontario Premier Doug Ford cuts our public education dollars. This year, Ontario's public education budget is $3 billion below where it was 6 years ago. I'm not here to bash the PCs. I'm here to say that we need to fight for our children and education. Thank you.
Joey, do you need any more pictures? I'm going to ask, actually, can you double check the live stream? Can people hear me if I'm talking in front of this camera without the mic?
Jack, there is a massive delay on the thing, so
Okay.
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. So, candidates, I'll be asking you questions. I have your names in this little black hat, known as a bag. We do have 8 questions that have been crafted from 7 questions now that have been crafted from several inquiries that have come to my office. And also, we've just tried to make them as, we've got context and then the actual question. So I might ask the question first just to be blunt. And if you need more context, then I will add additional context for the reasoning behind this question. And then as well, for our audience, and thank you, staff, for, I can see they're leaving. Bye, thanks, thank you. So for our audience, if you have any questions of your own, Pascal has some cards available with some pens that are here. So if you wanted to write down your question and then bring them up after we go through our sort of set questions, then we can go through and ask audience questions, okay? So, and just a reminder, we'll be pulling a random person to answer a specific question. There will be an opportunity for a rebuttal. So just kind of raise your hand. This is kind of going to be first come, first served. So you might have to have the fastest hands in East End Hamilton.
We have time for 1 rebuttal, maybe 2. But
if you do have a question that you would like to speak to, but you didn't get a chance to speak to it, we can have that. We'll figure out time to get that.
Yeah, we'll come to it at the end.
All right.
Still 2 minutes for the first question. 1 minute for the rebuttal. Same deal.
Okay, Amanda, your first question is, how do you intend to address bullying in your role as trustee? Do you need context for this?
I'd love some.
Okay. So in 2021, following the death of Devon Selvey at Sir Winston Churchill, in 2019, we found that bullying was a pervasive problem in Hamilton schools. 85% of students said they felt safe at school, but 60% said that they were victims of bullying. The bullying was rooted in racism, homophobia, transphobia, and ableism. We're also hearing more and more about cyberbullying. So again, the question is, how do you intend to address bullying in your role as trustee? So grab the microphone. Perfect, thank you.
Thanks. Really important and pertinent question. I've just completed a project that deals with cyberbullying and the radicalization of youth to violent extremism. So this all ties in quite well with that. As far as my role, or how I see my role being able to have impact, I know from a governance and policy level, that's really important to review and make sure that the policies in place are reflective of the changes in the conditions that we're operating in. Growing up and being a young student myself, bullying didn't follow you home into your house the way it does now with access to the internet that young people have these days. So part of it is around the review and implementation of policies and procedures and the following procedures following that. The other thing that I think I can bring is I have a background in nonprofit management, working specifically with children and youth from low-income neighborhoods. I've done it through the power of sport. I've done it through a Boys and Girls Club lens. I think one of the most important things we can do for our children is give them a sense of belonging. That's through creating safe, supportive spaces. That's making sure that our educators are also feeling supported and they have the tools and resources that they need. And that's from reflective conversations and making sure that, being visible, being accessible, being out in the community and hearing feedback as well. It's not just a matter of saying don't bully or understanding the reasons, some of the reasons why people are bullying. It's really around how do we make sure that we create the conditions where bullying isn't even tolerated anymore. And I see I'm out of time. Thanks.
Thank you, Amanda. Actually, again, fastest hands. I saw Abby first. So Abby, 1 minute. Oh, Allison's got your microphone.
Thank you, Amanda. I just wanted to add one thing or a couple things to that as well. I think we need to be proactive about some of these issues. We want to make sure that we're educating our teachers so that they can see some of these trends happening before they happen. So we're being more proactive and less reactive. And I also think it's important to understand that kids don't only live in our school system, they live in our communities. We need to be working with community members to see what is happening within their communities and what they're bringing from their communities to their schools, so we can work as a whole neighborhood to help combat these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Next person, Larry. So the question is, how do you intend to manage the issues that are brought to your attention? Would you like some context beyond that?
Sure.
Beyond attending the board and committee meetings, a large part of duties of a trustee is to help parents navigate the school system. So the question is, how do you intend to manage issues that are brought to your attention?
Thank you very much for that question. When I was a trustee from 2014 to 2018, whenever I would get a call from a parent, I would get my notebook out and I had notebooks full of notes from parents, very detailed notes that I would send to the superintendent as well, and then we would meet to discuss these issues. I held ward information sessions, which were one thing I'd like to do on an even bigger scale, where I held meetings in the community, brought coffee and snacks, and we sat down and discussed the issues that were important. When I was a trustee, I sat on these transition committees with folks like Allison, and we heard all the concerns from the community, the worries about bringing these schools together, and we've seen some of those fears come to fruition. I always say to my family is that if you have an issue, don't be afraid to hit me first. But it's important that we try to deal with this at the school first with the teacher, then with the principal, superintendent, and then myself will be engaged. One thing my predecessor, Ray Mulholland, did well is he made a point to have strong communications with his relationships with his principals and I would obviously honor that as well. Being at school council meetings, being at home and school meetings, when there was an issue with the playground, I would sneak over there during the day, meet with staff, meet with the community, look at the issue, and then we would bring that to the board to see what we could do for funds to solve those issues.
Thank you, Larry. Miriam was faster than Amy, so I'm going to go to Miriam, please.
So I think the main core of an issue being addressed is understanding the issue, diagnosing what the issue is instead of looking for resolution. Because a lot of time the issue is already addressed in the actual description of the issue. So figuring out what is the actual issue with the parents or whoever is addressing the issue. And communication is a key role, because I feel like clarity, communication, identifying what the core issue is what resolves and handles the issue.
Thank you, Miriam.
Y'all are doing great on time. Thank you.
Not stressful at all.
So I have Miriam now for the next question. So in September, I'm setting context. This is the only different one.
Yes.
So in September 2023, the Million March for Children held a protest at the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board headquarters. This protest was also attended by counter-protesters. What are your thoughts on the calls of this movement? And or how would you address homophobia and transphobia in schools?
Thank you so much for the question. I think if I understand the question has two folds, if I can understand it, is that there was protests happening and then pro-protested, and the people against the protests were there as well, and also addressing homophobia. Protest is everybody's right. Obviously, civil protest is everybody's right. That's how we do in a democratic country, right? So if people are disagreeing with an issue, they need to protest and they need to voice it that way, then that's great, as long as it's in a civilized, common, respecting everybody's rights and not overstepping over people's boundaries. Again, with the homophobia question, I think everybody are entitled to their own rights. Everybody's entitled to their own gender definition. So every child is entitled to that. Kids need to feel secure. Kids need to feel comfortable expressing who they are and what do they want to be called, she or he. So that is something that needs to be respected. I think there's a lot being done in the education of this avenue. And I think our job as a trustee would be to also promote that and make it accessible, have open doors for stuff like that. So not shut down all the doors. Make kids feel comfortable if they feel that they need to express it. So that would be my answer to that question. I hope I addressed it.
Thank you, Miriam. Okay, so actually, because Abby, you've already gone, I'm going to go to Jordan.
No problem.
So Jordan, do you want to respond to that?
Sure.
Yeah, you got it.
There we go.
Okay, so could you just repeat that, Tammy, please? Thanks.
Sure. In September 2023, the Million March for Children held a protest at the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board headquarters. This protest was also attended by counter-protesters. What are your thoughts on the calls of this movement and as it relates to homophobia or transphobia in schools?
Okay, so this brings me back to, 10 years ago when I attended Parkview Secondary School. It was a vocational school at the time, and the board at that time wanted to close the programming down basically and proceed to do what they had done with Bernie Custis and that whole ideology that's failing our kids to date. That's never worked from day one. So with that being said, is at that time, I would, with the Parkview Panthers community, Larry's support as well at the time, which I appreciate, we would encourage the peaceful demonstrations. So peaceful, that's how we do it here in our democracy. You have the right, but you have to do it, peacefully. Now, for the second part of that question, I would agree that, to go out again and voice that opinion, but do it the way that it went, I guess. And also for that to be into the schools, I believe that should be outside and that should be, that's a parent conversation, so.
Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. We are now moving on to question number 4. Oh, Allison Bailey. Your question is, How do you intend to support children with disabilities, including physical, mental, and learning disabilities? Would you like some context to that question? Or is that a good enough question for you?
You can give me context, that would be fine.
Students and parents are concerned about a backlog of needs assessments for students with learning disabilities. Needs assessments are not completed by the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board itself, but rather by a third party. Students with disability and their parents are also concerned about a lack of school resources to support them. So the question is, how do you intend to support children with disabilities, including physical, mental, and learning disabilities?
Very good question. Thank you very much, Tammy. Every child deserves an education. And whether they have disabilities or not. And because of this backlog, what we're looking at is some of these children not being able to move further in their education because of this backlog. Honestly, Tammy, this is a difficult question, only because we're constantly having our money, our educational dollars taken away, they're dwindling. And it was part of what I was saying before, they're dwindling $3 billion since Ford took over 6 years ago. And that's $1,500 per pupil is what we have lost. And what we're looking at is mental health, libraries. Honestly, there's such a list. What can I do? I guess do my best to get it moving. And whether I'm sitting here and talking to you and telling you that I need your help to make the changes, because when we're talking money, and that's what we're talking here, I can't do it by myself. I need more people. And believe me, I do have a voice, but I could always use more. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. I did see Miriam, but because you've already done a rebuttal, I'll ask Larry to, because he had put his hand up. Oh, Jordan's got the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry, Greg.
Hi, Allison. I think you really hit on a really important point at the end, and it's needing numbers. During election, everybody's engaged, everybody's out there sharing your message, trying to help you get elected. But then when you're elected, those numbers dwindle, right? And you need numbers to make a difference. It's one thing for us to go to the board table and say, hey, this is something that needs to be changed. And it's another to have that room, that trustee boardroom, like when Jordan and his students and the families came to protest the closure of that school, to have numbers there. We know, like when Jordan said earlier, that with the closing of Parkview and Mountain, that we've lost really important supports in our community. EAs are overworked. There's not enough of them. When we had schools like Parkview, it was packed full of EAs. And I'd also like to see EAs in our community as well. I've been coaching baseball for 12 years. I think we could provide them extra employment in the evenings by helping them be EAs at our sports events to help students who are struggling there as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Larry. All right. Amy Cowling, your question is, how do you intend to improve attendance rates for students? And I can add more context if you like. Okay. The CBC reported this April that since the pandemic, chronic absence rates, meaning those who have missed at least 10% of the school year or 18 days, have skyrocketed. For context, in 2018, the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board had a chronic absence rate of 35% compared to 54% in 2023. The causes of absenteeism were attributed to bullying and the mental health of students. So your question is, how do you intend to improve attendance rates for students?
Thank you. I guess I was going to say finding out why, like you just said, some bullying and what was it?
Mental health.
Mental health. Yeah, great question. Guess it'd be diving deeper to find out why students are feeling unsafe to go to school. I mean, finding a way to have their school community be somewhere they want to be. Like, I know my son, you know, he had to come home sick from school today and he was absolutely devastated. So finding a way for students to have that joy of going to school, whether it's getting them more involved or finding more clubs that they can be a part of, those safe spaces that have been talked about, that they would have people that they can really feel supported by while they are at school. Yeah, and I mean, it'd be a lot of learning, which I don't have all the answers, but I'm absolutely happy to jump into these topics and help to find the reasons and how we could help them.
Excellent. Thank you, Amy. So Allison was a little quicker. I know Miriam's already responded, and I do recognize that Amanda's also. But Allison, you were a little faster on that quick hand draw.
Thank you, Tammy.
Oh, you're not.
Thank you, Tammy. Now we're getting back to mental health issues and bullying. And mental health issues is one of the problems. It's one of the issues that we have because we can't address it because we don't have any money. Sorry, I know, I'm bringing this back up. Every single time I look and I see that so much money has been taken away from our educational budget, it irks me, it pisses me off, and I need to be vocal about it because those are our kids, those are our future, and we need to make changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our last goes to Jordan Williams. You have a, sorry, what's your question?
Oh, no, I just haven't got any question either.
Yeah.
Did I?
No, she didn't. We watched her put it in the bag.
I saw it go
Tammy, is it?
I mean, I know I'm always last with this red last.
I don't know what happened.
I don't disappear. Oh, I kind of got it.
I could have sworn you put your thing in there, but anyway.
No, so what happened?
Okay, so Jordan's the second last question,
Okay.
and then we will have Abby as the last question. Mysterious.
Abby can go ladies first.
No. We're going to go with Jordan first. So, Jordan, what are your thoughts about Indigenous language classes in Hamilton Wentworth District School Board schools? And just to give you a little more context, Ward 4 has the largest urban Indigenous population in Hamilton. Some Hamilton Wentworth District School Board schools offer Mohawk classes to its students, like at Queen Mary Elementary. However, as of this school year, this program is no longer being offered. So what are your thoughts about Indigenous language classes in Hamilton Wentworth District School Boards?
To answer that question would be, that's devastating to hear that program will be cut. This is the problem that we're seeing that's plaguing our schools with our current level of government. I really disagree with persons with disabilities, seniors, and children are the most vulnerable in today's society, and they should not be robbed for it. It's very important that we continue building that relationship of where we have come from, and we have strayed so far from that, which is community. You know, that's a part of history, very important grassroots history. It's starting to see its way coming back more now at the beginning of sports games and things like that to be recognized, but it has to be recognized more. I would work immediately with the local Indigenous centers and build partnerships where we can bring them into the schools. We have the spaces are there. My two beautiful children, Aubrey and Noah, who are 5 and 6, attend WH Ballard School, fantastic school. They have a couple of unused classrooms that are just sitting there. So these are innovative new thinking ways that we can collaborate and bring in our community resources and bring back these programs. We should not be cutting them. Thank you.
I recognize Amanda because Amanda hasn't responded yet. So Amanda, please.
I turned it off, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's gonna happen. I appreciate it.
So thank you very much for the question. So first of all, the school board has and all Canadians actually have a duty to help fulfill the 92 calls to action for the Truth and Reconciliation Report. So, and one of them is supporting Indigenous language and Indigenous learning. So it's disappointing, but in itself is quite a bit of a paradox, right? In order to teach Indigenous language and learning, you've got to go through a colonized process, but this is a decolonized, we're talking about decolonized work in this field, so it's a bit of a paradox in that regard. I also just kind of want to talk about, we are situated like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that we need to meet the psychological needs of our students and our learners before they can be self-actualized. However, our Indigenous brothers and sisters from the Blackfoot clan all recognize that we're already self-actualized, and it's up to the community to ensure that we all continue to take care of each other.
Thank you. Abby, gonna have to ask you the hardest question.
No, thank you.
All right, the question is, how do you intend to balance your fiduciary duties with the needs of the students and staff? And to put it into context, school boards in Ontario must pass a yearly budget or else the Ministry of Education can take over the board. Given our current economic landscape and tightening of funding from the Ministry of Education, how do you intend to balance your fiduciary duties with the needs of the students and staff?
Absolutely, thank you. Well, I think we have to get creative. If we don't have the money, we don't have the money. We can advocate at the ministry level for money, but at the end of the day, we can't just say, no money, we can't do anything about it. We need to work as a community together to find resources for our students. I'm already out in the community making connections with people at neighborhood association meetings and different community members to see how we can work together to find the resources that we need to fill in those gaps. Until we can get the funding to fill in the gaps, we need to work together as a community, figure out how we can do that ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Did everyone get a rebuttal?
I feel like everyone got a rebuttal. Did everybody get? Everybody got a rebuttal, right? Okay, so that was fastest hands was Amanda. So Amanda, rebuttal.
I think it's really around looking at other promising practices. One of the things that we do in the nonprofit sector is we look at evidence-based research and promising practices to see what we can pull over and use and make sense. Some of the things we're seeing at other schools and other school boards with regards to corporate sponsorship. I think it's also around involving community-based agencies and community-based organizations, which is part of my platform, is making sure that we're connecting with these local groups that have areas of skills and abilities and the technical skills and knowledge to be able to provide experiential learning or hands-on learning opportunities to our kids in areas that perhaps fall short on the budget. We do have to be creative. There's a lot of creative thinkers and problem solvers here. So it's about using evidence-based practices, being creative with the process.
Thank you. So we have exhausted, actually I had one more because of Paul, but it's a bit of a doozy of a question, so I think I'll just leave it off for now. So we'll,
You can throw it to all of us.
that is fair. I will, okay, you know what? Let's do this one. I will throw it out to all of you and we'll give you 30 seconds each to answer this question. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
All right. So the question is, and here's the context setting. While there are no vacant Hamilton District while there are no vacant schools in the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board in Ward 4, as a trustee, you will have to vote on how to handle and dispose of school assets, including properties. The Sir John A. Macdonald Secondary School is one example that was talked about a lot in the community. The school board still owns the building and submitted 4 proposals to the Ministry of Education to repurpose the building, and some included partnerships with community centers. However, all proposals were rejected by the ministry. What would you do to address situations like this one? Okay, so we'll start with Abby first, and then we'll go this way, and then we'll go this way. Okay, so Abby, you first.
I think that we need to keep trying. I don't think that we can give up. I think that we need to keep public land public. We need to keep it in the best interests of our communities. And we shouldn't stop fighting to keep that. They need to keep submitting those applications and working the best to keep the Sir John A. Macdonald within the community.
Excellent, thank you. Amy?
This is now a 15-second
I would have to know quite a bit more about this to be able to make that comment.
Thank you, Amy. Miriam?
I actually went to Sir John A. Macdonald's, and I think that was a great school. It got closed down, but it's a shame that's not being used. I always wondered why it was not being utilized for all the homelessness. Why did we open Cobb's Coliseum when we had the whole Sir John A. Macdonald? Everybody could have their own room, bathrooms, and everything. So I think that hardest push, I think the issue would be to find out what was in those proposals that made it flawed. So work on that and make it work for the community. It's a beautiful facility. I've been there for 6 years, and I think that needs to be utilized.
Thank you. Allison?
I'm agreeing with everyone. We need to understand why those proposals didn't go through. Once we understand that and we find out what the parameters are and what it is that they're gonna tell us we can use it for, then we're gonna have to start looking at how we can best use it.
Jordan, please.
You guys are so fast.
Certainly. So actually, we've dealt with this in the past again. Back when I was in high school with Delta Secondary, a beautiful school was sold off, unfortunately, under the foot of our community. There was input, but of course, we know how corporate greed works. At the end of the day, it's the people's, it's the public, it's our buildings, and we should all have a say. And I will make sure that I bring and fight and bring you right there at the decision-making table so that this does not happen. Because if we did have that, like all of my candidates here,
Thank
fellow
you.
ones,
Thank you, Jordan. Amanda? Turn on the thing.
There's this beautiful design principle called chair in a room. And the idea is that you design a chair in a room in a house in a neighborhood in a community in a city. And I think it's about looking at these proposals from that same lens. That's how we need to look at and approach our work. When you're talking with a funder from a grant writing lens, they're often willing to work with you to make sure that your needs and their needs are being met. So it perhaps involves some exploration, some conversations, and some thoughtful considerations moving forward.
Thank you, Amanda. Larry?
I'd certainly like to know what happened with this plan because our board of trustees put together a wonderful proposal for a community hub, working with partners like YMCA and whatever to create a beautiful hub there. But at the end of the day, there's a big property that's worth a lot of money, and schools around it that are needing to be rebuilt, like Hess Street that has open concept, Strathcona, and I would want to have a conversation with Elizabeth and Sabrina to understand the history of this since 2018.
Thank you, Larry. Can I get a round of applause for our trustee candidates? We will now be opening this up for audience questions. Do we have any audience questions? Don't be shy, everybody, it's all good.
It's the fastest pens.
Fastest
in the
pens?
East.
Fastest pens in the East. We got fastest hands, fastest pens, it's all good.
As long as it's not the Wild West, right?
Yeah, no Wild West. We're not dealing with the Wild West. Fastest hands, fastest pens in the East. All right. So how are we doing this? Do we want to direct them or or everybody gets like a 10-second, 2-second, 10-second, 15
Y'all did
milliseconds?
so good with time. Thank you very much that we now have 30 minutes left before we're good. So this is good. So we can give you
30
a minute?
seconds. No,
30 seconds.
A minute? What?
All right, fine.
30 seconds. Fast and succinct.
Okay.
All right.
First hand up wins.
Okay, so racist violence against teachers and students is getting more vicious. Many powerful actors are working overtime to normalize racism. How would you protect students and staff? Oh, Jordan first. You want to grab the mic? It's over down by Larry there.
Once again, this is 15 seconds, okay?
Okay, so definitely what I see right now out in the community, again, it all stems from community. I have to say that there is a lot of misleading information out there. Now, we have to realize that our children are living in a day and age where everything is unfolding before it happens in real time. So we need to pay attention to this and foster more programs to help support students and decrease the crime and the violence and the discrimination altogether by engaging in them in the community, and they'll respect in return.
Thank you. Any others? So we'll go to Miriam next and then Abby.
I think education is key. Educating everybody about what racism is, how to avoid it, how not to be racist, because sometimes people do it in ignorance. So education is the key thing, and also providing ample amount of support.
Abby next.
We need to see the importance of understanding diverse perspectives, addressing systemic inequalities, and fostering a sense of belonging for every student. We need to be educating our staff so that they know how to identify and address these issues out there.
Excellent, thank you. Last word to Amanda.
I think this all stems from a need for pluralism, the idea that we can have conversations about some really tough topics and it's in a safe, supportive environment to be able to have that happen. I think also we need to have an emphasis on digital literacy, not just for our learners, but for our families as well, to understand the pitfalls of that, and introduce critical thinking, right? I think those are really important. Critical thinking of what's online, critical thinking of media, critical thinking in conversations, and that's how we're going to be able to turn things around with regards to these acts of racism.
Thank you, Amanda. All right, I gave Amanda the last word. We're gonna do 4 each. 4, because I have 3 questions so far. So,
Anyone else want to ask?
but I'm also buying time for people to write really fast.
Does Joey have a question?
Joey, do you have a question? Do you want to write things? Anyway, I'll talk to you later. All right. So the question now is, do you have any thoughts regarding the integration model in classrooms that Hamilton Wentworth District School Board has been favoring in most recent years?
What was this?
Yeah, context, please.
Sorry, context. So in the last couple of years, HWDSB has shut down self-contained classrooms across the board. So for students with very, very high needs, they are now fully integrated into the mainstream classroom, sometimes with an AA, sometimes with that. There are some philosophical reasons why this is a very positive thing, and then there are some reasons why, in practice, this is really tough.
That's going to be really hard for me to repeat back to our streaming audience. Sure. But everybody, you guys can listen to their answers. Sorry about that. It's really hard to, that was a really fulsome question though. Thank you. All right. So,
start again.
So we're going to start with Amy, and then we'll go to Allison, and then we'll go to Jordan and Amanda again. Actually, Amanda and then Jordan. Jordan gets, oh, what about you, Larry? Larry wanted, oh, okay, Larry wants to get in. Okay, so we're going to Amy first, followed by Allison, and then it's Amanda and then Larry. Okay.
Very complex. The positive side of it is that our children are being exposed to people who experience intellectual disabilities. When I grew up, I didn't have any of that exposure. It was only going to a college program where I ended up volunteering, and then ended up picking that for my career. So the positive side of it is that our kids are creating empathy and sensitivity. The other challenge is getting the supports in the classroom for those students so that everybody can have an equal learning education.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Allison, please.
Now, just to piggyback on what Abby just said.
Or Amy.
Sorry, Amy.
Amy. Abby, Amy, yes.
Just piggybacking. The problem is that we don't have enough EAs. If we had more EAs, then our teachers would spend less time with these students and be able to teach more of the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Amanda?
I think it's important that we meet learners where they're at, and we perhaps need to do some assessments to make sure that the integration is working. to Amy's point, it does make a difference. It makes a difference in the lives of the children that are, all children that are participating in the HWDSB. But data tells a story, and we need to make sure that our learners are learning, and that's every single learner.
Okay, thank you. Larry? That turns on. Oh, there you go.
Thank you very much. Part of my work as I was leading up to the last election was to learn about the dangers of full inclusion. And we also have to ask ourselves, is this inclusion to them? Do they actually feel included in this classroom? And why can't we have so that their spaces can be fluid? So if they're having a good day, they can be in the classroom. If they're not, we have to have spaces where they can be properly supported, because it's in the best interest of all learners, including the ones that have struggles.
Thank you, Larry. All right, we have one more question, unless we have more. Oh, Joey, you're gonna go later, after this question. I needed you to think about these things.
What's the journalist here for? I'm joking, I'm joking.
So the question is, how would you address staff shortages, both EA and teachers? Jordan first, Larry, Miriam. Okay. Jordan first. Does anyone want to be the fourth?
Go ahead.
Okay, so, well, I work at Stelco, and I'm with Union Local 1005 USW. So I understand the importance of partial union support. So I do support the teachers' unions partially. And this, being said, is in the ability to build the relationships, and we need to be bringing back our staffing that we lost during the pandemic. We're living in a new world now, and everything is just starting to open up now. What we're seeing now is what we saw a year ago, and we're not prepared for moving forward, so we have to.
Thank you. Thank you. On to Larry, please.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if it was that same CPC article or if it was another one, what the kids missing school, but there was also one talking about the teachers missing school as well. We're in post-pandemic. We've all got used to online. Why isn't there the option for that teacher to be able to teach from home on those days that they're sick? They're being responsible. They're staying home when they're sick. We have the technology. Kids in high school are just leaving when there's a supply there. Teachers are losing their wages. The kids are missing class time. We need to use technology.
Thank you, Larry. Last is Miriam, please.
So yeah, I agree with Larry. Technology is key. Coming from an HR background, that has been the issue during the pandemic at all times. Shortages happen. Utilizing, being creative, because ultimately kids do matter, and if they come to school, we have to make sure they learn. So ensuring that kids do learn and having creative ways of achieving it is the key. So whichever way gets us to that resolution, then that's the way we have to go with.
Thank you, Miriam. Allison is last, please.
Thanks, Tammy. And we're talking creativity. If we've got a shortage of teachers, then we should start looking at the student teachers and bringing them on board. We have teachers in various other areas that could actually fill in as teachers with a little bit of training. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Joey, now you're up.
Follow the rules.
Pascal made you follow the rules. Excellent. Okay. All right. So the question is, how will you inspire confidence in democracy as part of your public service? Jordan first, followed by Amanda, followed by Larry, and then Abby. So Jordan?
Awesome, great question, thank you. I would encourage open democracy with activism. Right now, these children are seeing again their world implode before their eyes. Leaders, fortunately, I was blindsided as well, and I'm learning at 29 that this is what real life is in politics. It's politics is just a word. I believe a politician has to be an activist. You have to lead by example and lead with action, speak louder than words, and I have done that, and I will continue doing that for my community. Thank you.
Thank you. On to Amanda.
It's about listening. It's about, once again, following evidence-based practices, good resources. There's a wonderful organization out there called Samara Canada, and they do a lot of work around supporting youth and youth vote. There's a lot of other nonprofit agencies that are supporting youth around that, I think. And one of the things I did in my role in youth work was teaching kids how to vote, teaching youth how to vote. So making it accessible, the more you do it, the more likely you're going to do it again. And we need to engage them earlier in the process, and we also need to engage parents and families as well.
Larry?
Thank you. Just to reiterate the question, it's how will I foster positivity in this role as an elected official? Is that?
Yes. How will you inspire confidence in democracy as part of your public service?
Yes, and so not tearing anybody down, understanding that everybody has different opinions on every issue imaginable, to listen to them, to respect their belief systems, and to try to just foster good communications in the community, being in the community as often as I can to hear the concerns of everybody.
Thank you, Larry. Last word is Abby, please.
Yeah, I agree. Just showing up, I think what we're doing today really helps being transparent with the community and making sure that we're communicating with them when we're going door to door. We're being transparent that there's other folks that are running. We're at the community. We're making sure that we are engaging with people in a transparent way.
Thank you.
My timer is dying.
No.
Y'all were so fast on the button. I was like, ah.
So what we're gonna do now, seeing as there's no other questions in hand and nobody's really excited to speak. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is I'm going to ask each of our candidates to just give us a 30-second wrap-up speech.
Hold on, let me do the math here.
Pascal is saying we should give you more time.
Hold on. 15 minutes.
I'm gonna ask when you speak your final statement, please project. I want to get it in the microphone you see in front of you, because I think that that's a good clip to put up for the public that's not here tonight. It might only take a few minutes to hear from each of you. So please project your voice so that all the microphones pick it up well.
So our journalists in the house really want you guys to speak clearly and into the microphone. Thank you. So think of this as your closing statement. Do recall, just kind of hit on some of the key points that you're really trying to really push forward. And at the very end, please have a little closing, I'm Tammy. You can find me at ward4@hamilton.ca. Blah, blah, blah. Ways that people can get a hold of you, that sort of thing. Okay. So
we have time for 2 whole minutes.
Whoa. 2 whole minutes. You guys have enough material for 2 whole minutes?
Do you want 2 minutes?
You know what? We will give you the cap of 2 minutes, but you can use up to said 2 minutes. Okay? So I'm going to start from this side. I'm going to start from Allison, and we're going to go this way because we started this way, going that way. So Allison, take it away.
Allison, stand out a little bit.
Stand just inside a little more. Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, Miriam.
I'm here to say that we need to fight for our children's education. I'm here to say we can't keep doing things the same way. We need creative solutions. We need a new voice, and I believe that voice is mine. This is about our kids, it's about our teachers, it's about our schools. We have to do more with less. It's about our future. I'm Allison Bailey. You can find me at AllisonBaileyCommunications.com.
Thank you, Allison. All right, we'll do applause at the very end, guys.
All right, again, so I'm Miriam. I think what we need to look for is helping each other as a community, and that only happens if we work together. So I'm here to represent all the parents, all the families, all the kids that go to school. At the end of the day, they make our community. Ultimately, all these kids are gonna take over what we are doing right now. So we have to make sure we give them the best future by developing what they're doing right now.
addressing mental health. And I think I didn't have an opportunity to talk about it a little bit, but I think there is a lack of educating families. There's a lack where kids have mental health issues, but parents don't know how to handle it. Parents don't know how to maintain it, how to help that kid get over the challenges. So being there, hearing what the parents go through, understanding all the problems, problem solving is the key, understanding what the issues are and addressing them at the core. And I believe it's time for change. It's time for a new phase, time for not doing repeatedly, robotically what has been happening and actually picking up the pace, actually being there and making a difference. And the reason I did put my name up is because I'm kind of tired of things happening the same, having no change in place, ensuring that there's actually somebody who's driven enough to bring changes and to hear people who have been suffering, who have been going through the problems. So yeah, you can find me at my LinkedIn page. My name is Miriam Suleiman-Hill. My phone number is also on the City of Hamilton website. So please, I'll be more than happy if you have any further questions, I can address it personally. Thank you very much again. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Miriam. Amy Cowling, please.
So Amy Cowling, again, mom of 6. So like I said, I've been in the school for a long time and I still will be for a long time. My youngest starts next year. And so I'm a parent, I'm like you. And I know that I ran in 2022, had a lot of the same concerns as I was going door knocking. And so that's why I put my name, my little advocating for you. You know, our concerns were the same. So not everybody can step out and do this, so I have. And the 3 things that I'm mostly passionate about are ensuring that parents empowering parents to be more involved in their children's education, to ensure that all students from all walks of life have a fun, safe, and respectful education, and to establish transparency for what happens in the schools and in the classrooms. Nobody wants their kid to come home and we tell them something like, what? I never knew that happened. So you can connect with me if any of that resonates with you at parentsvoicesmatter@gmail.com, and you can look me up on Facebook, Amy Cowling, Hamilton School Board Trustee, Ward 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Abby Zately, please.
Hi, Abby Zately. I feel uniquely invested in Ward 4 thriving at the school board level. I have kids that go to school here. I live in Ward 4. My heart is in this area of the city. I love East Hamilton. I am the co-chair of school council at AM Cunningham. I have been working with community members, with principals, with staff and teachers to make our systems better. I'm routinely going to neighborhood association meetings, home and school meetings at other schools, and different school council meetings to try and collaborate and bring our schools together. There's so many great resources that exist within our ward, but all of our schools are living within a bubble and we need to start communicating. For me, communication and transparency is key, making sure that parents know what's going on within their schools, making sure we're supporting mental health and anti-bullying preventions, and creating inclusive and inspiring spaces for our children to learn. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is Abby Zately, and my website is abbyzately.ca. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abby. Larry Patterson, please.
Thank you, Tammy, and thank you to your team for doing this. When I ran for office in 2024, the first time I was elected,
2014.
Sorry, 2014, yes. That election period ran from January until October. So we had lots of opportunities to do town halls and to go to community meetings and to attend parent councils and all of those things in the community barbecues and everything during that year. It's not easy being a trustee candidate. Money is always not flying in. It's especially hard, this time of year. You're trying to do all the Christmas stuff with our kids and to balance this as well and our jobs. So, it means a lot that you're offering these resources for parents to be able to get to know who we are, because we're doing our best to hit every house in this community. But Ward 4 is pretty big. I know my back's feeling all those steps, so this is just a great opportunity. Our Ward 4 schools do need some help. We have Parkdale is in fair condition, and we know that Ann Cunningham is in poor condition, which means that they can't offer proper programming in these schools to meet the benchmark needs. It's great to see schools like Rosedale getting a new gym. As a coach and somebody who cares very deeply about our physical education, all of our schools need to have those kind of assets, because any of us who've had kids have gone to small schools, small gyms, trying to see our kids out there performing. We need these spaces for athletics. We need these spaces for our families to be able to go and enjoy our kids in person in the Christmas concerts and those sort of things. We also know that with the sale of Delta and 962 homes being built, that's going to be a lot of people in our community, and we're going to have that discussion about possible boundary reviews or how we're going to handle that many more families in our community. So you can find me at ward4forward.com, and I promise that if elected, I will continue this movement of Ward 4 Forward with newsletters and keeping the website up to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Amanda Neal Robinson, please.
Thank you, and I just want to say to all the candidates, thanks for hearing the call for leadership. Not everyone hears it, not everyone actually stands up for it, so thank you all for being here, and all of you for being here too. I invite you to view my LinkedIn. I am Amanda Neal Robinson. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find my resume and experience, and I think you'll get a real solid understanding of who I am and the values I bring as a candidate trustee for the role. I have a background in supporting governance, and that is from a local level, provincial level, and a national level, especially with regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and making sure that everyone has a space, a face, and voice, and feels like they're heard. I also have been spending more than a decade supporting and advocating on behalf of children and youth from low-income neighborhoods, and ensuring that they have futures that they can that are attainable for them. I understand working from a nonprofit background, I understand the challenges working with a condensed budget or a budget that keeps seeming to move. And I'm confident that through some creative problem solving, we can get some solutions that will be satisfactory to everyone there. I also know the importance and the value of relationships, having worked one-on-one with many young people. When I announced my candidacy just at the close of the nominations period, the first person to reach out to me was one of my young people from more than a decade ago. The first person who wants to make a donation towards my campaign is someone I worked with 4 years ago, a young person. So relationships matter, relationships are important. I think the other thing is to bring in the social issues that are plaguing our families, are also plaguing our kids. 5 out of 8 of our schools are participating in the Food for Kids program. That means that kids aren't eating. How can you learn if all you can think about is food? We need to make sure that these basic needs are being met so that we can do the best for our learners in our community.
Thank you. Thank you. Jordan Williams, please.
All right, well, I'd like to thank the Ward 4 team as well. Tammy, thanks for putting this on, all the trustees for coming out, and just, going out and using our voice and being there for the children and the next upcoming generation. I've had a rough last 2 years. I work at Stelco here in Hamilton. It's a big corporation, Crown Corporation. Big corporation greed is at its all-time high. Being a blue-collar worker, what happened to me basically was I had a psychological and physical breakdown. I was pushing my breaking point by colleagues and management. Also, it stems from human resources for no apparent reason. Now, this is due because I am someone who shakes the boat, so to speak. I stand up for what I believe in is right, for what I feel is right in my heart deeply. And the children, having 2 of my own in the school system here in Ward 4 and seeing the conditions that the schools are in, nothing has changed since 2015. Again, I am who I am, and if you check me out online, you can. I got cards at the back there. Give me one politician that hasn't, turned and gone corrupt in 10 years. I mean, with all due respect, I'm the same as I was back in Parkview days as I am now. And I'm just trying to make it, and I believe that I'm the catalyst. The children need that. They need engagement. There's too much desk time now. They need to be out into the community. They need to be building those relationships, because then it fosters the collaboration and gets them the youth out of trouble. I also have been working closely with different governments as well. We have the Correctional Services College here in Hamilton as well that I've been partnering with to possibly bring a program to Ward 4 schools, a Beyond Scared Straight program that'll reduce crime. Thank you, and I appreciate your time. And look forward to everyone coming out to vote. Thanks.
And a big round of applause. So thank you so much to our, I know, Pascal's gonna just get mad at me. I'll just stand like this in front of everybody. So I wanted to thank our candidates for coming out today, and I wanted to thank how honest and transparent you have been, and I think that no matter who we vote in, we are always going to be in good hands, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. So to our audience, we are concluding tonight's meet and greet. Our team is also going to try to push the word through our channels to try and get more engagement in the community. But tell your friends who are not here today that there is a second meet and greet tomorrow, and that is at the Rosedale Elementary School in Rosedale. So
Same time at Rosedale Elementary.
7 o'clock though, wasn't it?
It is
7 to 9, because they know. So yes, it's at Rosedale Elementary School in the gym from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. It is also going to be put on by our friends at the Rosedale Association. So make sure that you tell your friends who are not here today that they ought to be showing up tomorrow. And I think that make sure that you check out the public record, because I think Joey's going to be trying to get a hold of you guys and chatting with you guys too. So you'll be able to answer some hard-nosed questions again from our journalists in the room. So anyway, thank you again. Please drive safe, grab some food. We do have some Roma pizza left, so please have a great rest of your night. Thank you again.
Let me just turn off the if I can end stream.